Welcome to our February technical training meeting. Thank you guys for joining us. I guess I probably need to make that a little bigger. There we go. So here's our agenda for today. A couple of things on the training opportunities, and then we really don't have one main topic. We've got a list of a bunch of different things we want to go over. So as we go through them, if you have questions or concerns, please feel free to speak up. But for training opportunities, anybody who needs the February training lead class, I hope you've already signed up for it. If you need that lead inspector class and you have not signed up for it, I think they're offering it. The U of U is offering it toward the end of this month. You may be able to still get in the class. I don't know, but check into that. And then we talked about this last time. It looks like there's National Home Performance Conference in Nashville. They're offering BPI CEUs. I haven't checked in the last couple of weeks, but the last time I checked, they are planning to hold that in person. The one thing we want you guys to be thinking about is the BPI CEUs. So one of the impacts of us offering this meeting less often, we're only doing 6 of these a year, means that you probably are going to have to look outside for some other BPI CEU opportunities. So make sure that you're considering those as they come through your inbox. Anybody aware of any other training opportunities or anything that this group should know about, or questions about any of that? All right. Well, then we will jump into the topics for today. And I'm not gonna, so we're gonna introduce our new employee in just a second. And then we have just an item on state surplus property. We're gonna review our $50 client rebate. And then just a couple things on some changes on our YouTube site for technical training videos that I'll show you, some LMS issues and changes. We wanted to take a minute and talk about the new health and safety form that we pushed out a month ago. I'm gonna talk about a change to the worst case draft test. And then we wanted to take some time and talk about the Htp water heaters that some of you have been installing. So that's what we'd like to cover in the meeting. Let's start with that introduction on Tay. Brad, did you have anything you want to say there? Do we want to just have Tay say hey and tell us about himself?
Alliteration there, Tay, say hey.
Tay, say hey.
No, yeah. So those of you can see him on screen. His name's Tay Omana. We hired him back in December, right before Christmas. He's already been out once, met a few people down at Utah Community Action. He'll be with the guys in the field. He'll start seeing more of them out there. You can tell them whatever you want about yourself, Tay.
Well, looking forward to it. Happy to be, part of this work, and enjoyed the associations so far. I'm looking forward to meeting the rest of the group. And like I say, it's just I think it's worthwhile, interesting work, and has its fair share of challenges. And like I say, looking forward to kind of growing together with this team. So thank you for letting me be a part of that.
Cool. Anybody have any questions they want to ask of Tay? No one will be brave enough to ask, huh?
That's right.
He already met me last week, so that's all that matters.
That's it. It's done. They have one and done.
You've been to the center of the universe and you've met Mark, huh?
And he's still here, so that's one good thing.
Nice.
Right.
You've made it this far. You didn't just turn and run away, right?
Dang, Scott, somebody pushed your tough button down there, didn't they? Well, yeah.
All
Remember,
right.
we're being recorded, Scott.
Dalton, I'm assuming this was something you wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
Are you ready to do that?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So we're going to be surplusing a few items up here at the training center. A lot of it's tools that we used to use when we did group work camps that we're no longer using at the state level. And before we actually send them to state surplus, we're going to give you as the agencies the option to go through them and see if there's some usable tools for your agency. So I've created a spreadsheet. Well, Turner and I, we both did it. Do you want to pull that up real quick, Turner? You just hit that link right there. I'm going to share with each of you coordinators here in just a few minutes. I'll share this sheet with you. It's pretty simple. We put a description of the item, and then there's a photo of the items, and you'll just worry about the column F, the claimed by. If you go next to the item you want and hit the drop down and select your agency, that'll let us know who's claiming that one. And then once you come and picked it up, we'll put a date received. So go through there. Only don't pack rat stuff. You know, if you guys don't need it, just leave it, because we'll end up sending it to state surplus. Just go through the items and see if there's some things that you could actually use at your agency. So, and then the deadline on that, we're going to give you to the end of the month. So we want to, and obviously it's first come, first serve. So whoever gets on there first and claims theirs first gets it. So, but yeah, there's quite a few different items on there. And there may be a couple more items coming in the next couple days on there, but I think this is about the majority of what we have that we feel we're going to offer to you guys. So, do you guys have any questions about that? It's pretty straightforward. Just select the claim by and select your agency. So next to the item you want, and then work with Turner, or sorry, with me or Tay to come up here and pick it up at the training center, the items. So
Cool. So
do you have anything to add yet, Brad? Okay. Yep.
until the end of the month to claim, to put their stuff on the list, or to come and pick them up?
Right.
To claim it, yeah, to put it on the list, and then
Okay.
we'll work with them on getting it to 'em.
Delivery and or pickup.
Yeah.
Cool.
So
All right. We wanted to talk about this and make sure everybody in the program understands what this is. So how long ago was that? A year and a half ago, we were up in Logan filming some stuff, and Brad had a fantastic idea while he stood there staring at the client's door wide open in the wintertime. He realized that while we're working on their homes, we are wasting energy. And so he went back and worked with the heat program and others, and basically he was able to make it so that we can give our weatherization clients a $50 rebate when we're done weatherizing their house. So the rebate to our clients, you can kind of hold that out as a bit of a carrot, and that we would encourage you to do that you just let them know, hey, this is a rebate to you for allowing us to complete our weatherization. That is the purpose. It's that we are going to waste a little bit of your energy while we're running these tests. Apologize that the blower doors, pulling all the heat out of your house this morning, but we do have a rebate that will cover that. A couple things you need to keep in mind about that is that the client must have a current heat certificate, and I put in here for 2 months. Is that a safe period of time, Brad, after the report of completion? They pretty much still have to be a heat client when you're finishing the job. Otherwise, we can't give them the rebate because they're no longer in the system.
Correct. Yeah, that's why when you fill out the BWR, I need the most current heat certificate number, because that is how I generate the information I send over to finance for that payment. So if they are no longer current with heat, I can't Yeah, we cannot do it. It's got to be a current client.
And so, and that is something that you may want to help your clients understand. But so the rebate, I've had this conversation with a few clients in their homes, because we do the same thing when we show up for our inspections. We're cranking the blower door on and making it cold inside. So I've just talked to them and basically said, make sure you still have your heat qualifications are up to date. And then I like to let them know this as well, that the rebate goes as a credit toward their utility account, and it's going to be split the same way their heat payment was split. So that's kind of an important thing. If you do have a client that's keeping an eye out for it, if they know that, you know, they might see a credit for $30 on their gas bill and $20 on their electric bill or something, you know, that's how that's going to show up. But I like to just tell them, you should see a credit in the next couple of months if you haven't already on your utility bills. And then, yeah, if this will help, we recommend that you use it as a carrot to get back in for your final inspections. And auditors, this is something that you guys can really help set the tone for or with your clients. If you'll educate them about this rebate right up front, start talking about it with them, then we hope that this will help just open that door a little bit more as the guys are in there working. Hopefully the clients will be a little less or a little more willing to work with you guys, and then same thing, they'll be more willing to allow you to come back and get that final inspection. Some clients may not care too much, but I think a lot of your clients will be very interested in a $50 rebate. Anything else that I missed in there, Brad? All right.
Nope,
Anybody have any questions about that? And what Brad said about that, the heat certificate number is key. I a few months ago gave you guys bad information. We corrected it in the last technical meeting. And then Brad's just reiterated it here. Make sure that you're putting their most current heat certificate on the BWR. So, all right. This is just a FYI. I am surprised at how many of the videos on our YouTube channel actually get watched or rewatched. We hope this is becoming a valuable resource for you guys. I went in a few weeks ago and I was trying to find some videos, and I realized just how difficult it was to find them. So I took some time and basically went back in and I changed the title of every video, at least for the last 3 years or 4 years. After that, they get a little less relevant. But I tried to just put in some more information so you can see just by glancing at the title what those videos are about. So hopefully if you are scrolling through them on the YouTube channel, you'll be able to more quickly find what you're looking for. You can do a search, but anyway, hopefully this will help as well. And so I just wanted to put that out there. If you've struggled with that in the past and felt like this was not a valuable resource, give it another try, see if the titles help. And also, as you guys are using this resource and any others, if there's something going on with it that's making it hard for you to use, please let us know. If there is something we can do about it, we can at least put it on our list of things to do, and hopefully, make these things a little more usable. And then also just want to make sure everybody is aware. There is, if you go to YouTube and just search for Utah Weatherization, you'll see this logo come up, and that's our channel. We've got all of the technical meetings are there, and then a bunch of other videos and resources are there. We're slowly putting them into different what do they call them? Watch lists or playlist. That's right. Anyway, it's there. Anybody have any questions on anything on our YouTube channel or anything we could do there to improve it? All right. I wanted to let everybody know about a couple of changes on the LMS. Hopefully most of these will be good changes. The first couple of things is that we've gone into the LMS and we tried to make it so that the guys at the state are not a barrier. That you are, we don't want you waiting on us to start using this resource. So when you guys, coordinators, when you guys have new employees, they can go directly to the LMS and create their own account and get started the second that you want them to get started. They don't have to wait for us to add them to the system. Once they have created their own account, any student, and this goes for everybody on this call, you can self-enroll in any open course at any point in time. You don't have to wait for us. Obviously, you know, if you are beginning to spend time in training, you will want your coordinator's permission to do so, but you don't have to wait for anybody at the state to get you enrolled in any of those classes. If you've ever ran into a password issue where you've forgotten yours, I've made it so that you can, there's an automated password recovery now, so you don't have to wait for us to reset your password. Let me just glance down my list here. Okay, so those are the couple of things that I fixed. I know they're working well. I hope they'll make your life easier. There's a couple other things I'm working on fixing, and I have a suspicion that they may be making a few of your lives more difficult. So I wanted to let you know that I'm aware of them, and then open up that dialogue. So if I'm not completely aware of the issue, you guys can help me understand it better. So some of you have taken some training, and then when you're done with it, the LMS is saying that it's incomplete, and no matter how many times you try to take that training again, it still says it's incomplete. That is an issue between, we use the LMS, our learning management system. That is a software called Moodle, and then the trainings, a lot of those little modules are, they're just a file type, kind of like a PDF. The file type is it's called a SCORM file or a SCORM package, and basically Moodle has an issue with SCORM packages. But all of those trainings that we bought from Saturn are SCORM packages, and if you are doing one of those trainings and you have any internet connectivity issues, then Moodle marks it as incomplete. So I think I fixed that by changing the way that it reads stuff from the SCORM packages, but if you had any of those issues, you're still going to have them until you correct them. What that means is basically if you still have a incomplete module, you should now be able to go back in and go view that module again, and when you do that, it should say that you've completed it. Anybody have any questions on that one, or any issues that feel like I may not be understanding the issue or something? All right. The other thing, I want to pull the LMS up real quick and show you. Because of that issue, I put something on the, all right, let me log in here. So I'm logging in as a student. I put this little scoreboard here so you guys could kind of keep track of where you're at. And I found that I went back through and gave everybody a grade for everything that they had completed on those incomplete things. But you'll notice that it may show that you didn't complete it up here on the scoreboard. But if you look at if you're actually in the training and you scroll down, it'll show that you've completed it. So basically, there's going to be a few of you that the corrections that I've made are going to make it so that your scoreboard is not correct. But if you'll just look down this list and see what is actually checked off, that is how the system is measuring whether you've completed stuff or not. So I've thought about pulling the scoreboard down for a little bit, but I think I'm going to leave it up there, because if we have a new student that starts today, this scoreboard should work exactly the way it's supposed to. I think there's a handful of you that your scoreboards are going to be incorrect for a little while. But if that's causing you any problems, I can reconsider that. We can pull the scoreboard down for a while until you know, we get past all that. Anybody have any questions or feedback on that? All right. The other thing I wanted to make coordinators aware of is that I have moved the auditor in training aspect right into the Intro to Energy Auditor course. So here's Intro to Energy Auditor. So if you have a new auditor, they don't have to reach out to me to get their auditor and training application going. Just tell them to go to LMS and start the course. The very first thing in the course gives them a link to the Intro to Energy Auditor application. And that's the first thing they start filling out. So basically, this is where an energy auditor or somebody who's going to become a QCI they'll work through this entire course, and it includes everything they need to be doing, including that energy auditor and training application. So FYI on that. But again, all of that in the spirit of wanting to not be this, we don't want to be the hurdle that you have to overcome in order to stay on track with your training. So this should allow you guys to just jump in there and get going at your own speed. A couple other things I want to let you guys know that I'm working on. Coordinators, I am working on a progress report. I do want to, within the next month or two, have something available for you so you can see where all of your people are at. We are going to be working on our QCI training track. That one really is not fleshed out yet right now. If you're working on QCI, you work your way through the energy auditor stuff and you get your QCI certification. But we'll be adding a few things to that in the future. And then I'm also, when you get to the end of the course, I'm working on it to where it will give you those certificates of completion so that you'll have them when you need to self-report for CEUs and stuff. So anyway, that's where we're at on the LMS. Any questions on that? Okay. Let's talk about HTPs, Dalton.
All right. So I think we discussed these a little while back, the Htp water heaters. Jesse up at Bragg, he first kind of introduced us to them. And we wanted to just bring it to your guys' attention again, that the option of installing these and kind of the advantages to them. And so I'm first going to start off by playing a video, or I guess you will, Turner, you've got the screen. We're just going to watch this overview video. It's like a 2-minute video, just kind of shows the features of these water heaters and stuff. And then we're going to, once we get done watching that, I've got a few questions I'm going to ask Jesse, and then I'm going to turn the time over to Mark for a little bit, just to talk about the installation of them and some issues that they ran into and overcome and that kind of thing. So the stuff they've learned from installing them. So let's go ahead and play that.
You have no idea what your teams can accomplish until you've tried Monday.com.
I can hear it.
Okay.
This revolutionary product was designed to be the most highly efficient, affordable residential tank type product in the industry. The crossover residential floor models combines the flow capacity of a 50-gallon tank type water heater with the continuous flow feature found in tankless water heaters. It has dual activation by flow or thermostat sensing, which guarantees hot water delivery even with low flow fixtures. These two new models utilize a downward fire tube heat exchanger design, which combines maximum heat transfer while providing optimal condensation drainage and results in self-cleaning, low-maintenance appliance. The heat exchanger is surrounded by a stainless steel tank that holds a full 20 gallons of up to 167-degree hot water. Delivered temperature is mixed down through an AS-SE 1017 mixing valve and can thus fill a 40-gallon tub at the same rate as a traditional 50-gallon tank-type water heater. The RGH 75 and 100 can also produce more first-hour delivery than conventional 50-gallon water heaters while only requiring 40% of the space. These two new models will change the way people view residential water heating. These new models integrate the benefits of both storage and instantaneous concepts without sacrificing performance. They are compatible with recirculation systems. An AS-SE 1017 domestic rated mixing valve is pre-piped to the outlet to increase first draw capacity and provide reliable temperature control. Its extra thick insulation in combination with a small water storage volume reduces standby loss compared to conventional water heaters. All units are preset for natural gas and shipped with liquid propane conversion kit, high altitude compliant, certified up to 10,000 feet. These two new models utilize a two-stage premixed combustion system that provides ultra-low NOx emissions, leaving virtually no carbon footprint. All models have a 6-year residential, 3-year commercial heat exchanger tank warranty with a limited 1-year parts warranty. For more information on these exciting new products, please visit our website at www.htproducts.com.
But wait, if you call now, there's more.
Yeah. So you can see they're a little more compact water heater. They're a direct vent water heater. So you're not going to have any combustion issues. Jesse, I'm going to ask you a couple of these questions. How much are you paying for those water heaters? What are you paying?
So currently we're about $1,700 for a water heater. They've just gone up quite significantly in the past few months. We started out putting them in at $1,300, but
What about
just
you, Seth?
inflation and everything. What's that?
What about you, Seth? You're using them too, right?
We had a few problems with them and kind of backed off using them a little bit, but I think we're going to start using them again, but I don't know the price of them right now. I know that they did jump, so.
Okay. So with these water heaters, you get a rebate. You can get a rebate back with them through Dominion. So if it's a Dominion client, how much are you getting back on those rebates, Jesse?
We're getting $300 back.
Okay, so there's a $300 rebate. You can't pay for the install with Dominion, with Dominion if you're going to claim the rebate, though, is the kind of the caveat there. What was the efficiency rating that you were getting on these when you're measuring your combustion analysis?
97.3%. Or sorry, yeah, percent efficiency.
So they're because they're a fully condensating unit, so they're more efficient than your typical, 80% efficient water heater, which is kind of nice too for your clients. Do they require that they're on soft water?
Not necessarily. So in the manual, it has a hardness limit. So they say maximum allowable level for hardness is 12 grains. Logan City is right at 12 grains. So it's probably would be beneficial to have one, but necessary, probably get away with that one.
Not necessarily required. Okay. And you're saying they do say on the label that you can install them in manufactured housing. Is that correct?
Yeah. So that was a thing we had. So Dominion red tagged a direct vent we had put in. He just went on the assumption it's a fully direct vent. It should be allowed. It's not. So HTP is the only one we've been able to find that is manufacturer home approved. We've called the manufacturers directly for Bradford White, Ream, A.O. Smith, and none of them will say they have a manufacturer approved direct vent water heater. HTP is the only one that is, and it doesn't say anywhere in the literature that it is, but if you look on the data plate on the water heater itself from the manufacturer, then it says on there it is approved for installation in the manufactured home.
Okay. So Mark, what's some of the lessons that you guys have learned from installing these, and what's the benefits?
The lessons that we learned is you gotta have condensation. Your microphone is probably going in here. Thank you. You gotta have condensation up or a way to drain them. Another big problem that we had was everywhere that you go, you can't get 3-inch out.
Okay.
You can run it in 2-inch pipe, but you do have to adjust the pressure switch to make up for that, or it'll have a drag fire on it.
Okay, so you want to vent them in 3-inch PVC, but if you do run it in 2-inch, you need to change the pressure switch. So you
Not change the pressure switch. You can adjust the pressure switch on that.
okay?
Maybe I can put out a video on it on how to adjust that pressure switch.
Okay. Okay. So yeah,
That is something allowed by the manufacturer.
I talked to our rep about it, and it's they're preset for the 3-inch, but as long as you make sure that it is, I mean, we do our due diligence. The contractor probably not recommended, but we make sure it's still firing right and everything like that. That's the biggest thing. And where I explained to our representative that we have, and he said he couldn't see a problem with us doing that.
okay. Seth, you said you had a couple issues with them. Did you guys get that figured out? And
Yeah, one of the biggest issues is getting them in down here. The vendors are not wanting to carry them very bad. And then we've had a contractor say he's had troubles with like 3 of them. And so we wanted to kind of check on that, but I think Carrie Lynn had a conversation with Jesse about it. So we're feeling a little bit better about them. And I think we're going to start using them again as long as we can get them in.
gotcha. So that was my next question, Jesse. What vendor do you use to get them?
So we use Peterson Plumbing to get them right now. I think Ferguson's also a dealer for them. They don't stock them. They've given us quotes on them before, but Peterson's been pretty good at being able to get them in for us. I think a lot of our contractors up here actually use enough of them that they'll stock them or can get them pretty quick.
Okay.
And so some of the problems there's a discontinued model, the 76,000 BTU model. That one was having some issues, but it's no longer in production. The ones that are available now, the 100,000 BTU, we haven't had any issues with them really.
Okay.
Minus maybe a pressure switch adjustment, like Mark had said. So.
Okay. And the other question that we were thinking about is you haven't run into any issues with having to resize gas piping or anything like that, have you?
No, we haven't.
Okay. Okay. Do any of you out there have questions for Jesse while he's on the line?
I'm just going to throw one more thing in there too. I ran a couple against audits. I had to turn the feature back on and just out of curiosity, but I ran them against some standard Bradford whites, 40 gallons, 40,000 BTU inputs. You actually do get a pretty decent savings. So at $2,500, you get an SIR of 1.7. So they're going to be beneficial in multiple ways to the client.
Because you're jumping from that 80% efficient to the 96. So it actually came back in the audit when you did some test run through that.
I've been wondering about that. That's good to know.
That is, yeah.
So don't mistake, like as of right now, our program standard is that water heater feature is shut off in the audit. We're not going to do that, but I have been wondering if we should reconsider that. So we'll talk about that. And
What was that number again, Wade?
So at $2,500, it's got an SIR 1.7.
That was against an atmospheric 40.
Yeah, 40,000 BTU, 40 gallons. So, and that's a 15-year life period. So it'll save you $4,250 within the 15 years.
Oh, that's cool.
That's good. Yeah, that's good to know. That's what I was kind of curious about that, where they're actually more efficient on the gas and burn side. So
Hey, Jesse, how did you find out how many grains was in your Logan City water?
Every municipal or city actually should have an annual report. So I pulled one up for Hiram. They were like 12 grains. The Logan City was 12 grains. The Logan City actually says 12 to 14, and it really depends on where at in the city you are and what well they're pulling from, or if they're pulling from their water tanks.
So you did an internet search for the annual report for those utilities for their.
Yep.
Okay. Cool.
And I was gonna add too, out at my house, I'm on straight well when I'm teaching natural flowing well, and I've went through and did the grains on mine, and even with mine, I'm right at about 14 straight out of the ground. And I do have high iron, but obviously the stainless steel tank, you're not gonna run into an iron issue.
Can you test your own?
Yeah, you can buy a kit
yeah,
and test it. I don't know how much the thing is because it was all done. Colgan was part of my water softener to make sure that my water softeners run good. I was there with the guy, and we did a grain test on my well.
You can buy a little test off of Amazon for like $40, but I don't think we want to get into that with our clients, do we?
No, that's definitely not something we want to get into.
I really like Jesse's approach of checking at the utility to see what they're measuring.
So you guys just run 1/2-inch gas lines to those then, even if there's like a 100,000 BTU furnace next to it?
Yeah, I went through and put it at full fire. Because that's one of the biggest things is you're on a tankless, and if it goes to full fire, you're pulling 250,000 BTUs. So I went through, had the furnace fired and a stove, an oven, turned them all on, and then hooked and made sure the gas pressure that I didn't lose any. And I've never had any problems with it straight from a gas line from where a 40,000 BTU water heater was.
okay. Does anybody else have any other questions for Jesse or Mark about these water heaters?
When have you found it advantageous to put them in versus other products, and when does a other product work better?
I've only ever had one issue, and actually had to go learn myself on putting in a Bradford White for a house that we recently done. I could not find anywhere to drain, even pump it anywhere in this basement without doing a whole remodel on this person's basement. That has been our only issue that we found, and it's been on one house in the last, we've been installing 3 years, and yeah, that's one house.
Gotcha. Dalton and I were in a house recently where there was very limited space for a water heater, and we just had some it was failing worst case draft, and I don't know the outcome yet, but we started we realized that this might be a good option because it has a small footprint. And so anyway, we were in a tight spot and we needed something small enough to fit in there and also vent directly outside. So they may come in handy in some of those situations.
Are you still insulating them?
Good question.
No, we're not.
Has anybody like read through the specs to see if the manufacturer prohibits that or anything, or do we know?
I haven't looked through the specs, but I think the tank R value, I'm trying to find it. It's like a R18. So already they got a pretty good R value on the tank.
Yeah.
They would be kind of awkward, I think, to their design.
Yeah.
Might be a challenge to actually get the insulation to stay on there, but just because they have that kind of plastic case around part of it might create some issues on
Every house that I've gone into, I've been in homes. I feel like I'm probably somewhere in the teens now where I've been in a home monitoring. I've seen one of these. I've asked the client how they feel about them. And every single client I've asked, they're like, I love it. Absolutely love it. So that to me has been like the most positive thing for these, because if your clients are enjoying them, then that says a lot. I was looking at last week, and so in their video they say it'll fill a 40-gallon tub as fast as a 50-gallon water heater will. And has anybody had any feedback from anybody who's tried to like take multiple showers at the same time? Because I think you do the math.
That's been my biggest thing when I ask a homeowner. I'll go in and I'll ask what they think of it, and that's been the feedback, is that they've been able to take multiple showers in a row. Granted, that's not conserving water, but they've been able to multiple showers, run the dishwasher, do some clothes without running out of hot water. And that's been the biggest consensus through them all that I've asked, is just being able to have that endless hot water.
Nice.
and you're only heating a 20-gallon tank instead of a 40 or 50.
Yeah, so when you first install it, you dump your 50, 60 degree water in there. It only takes 6 minutes for it to heat up from being freshly filled. So they heat up pretty quick. Their rated first hour output at 90 degree delta T is 130 gallons. So it's to run out of water, you really have to use a lot. And one nice thing too is they're modulating. So say you go just wash your hands, you're not going to use all 100,000 BTUs either. It'll kick it down to that 50,000 BTUs is the lowest. Then depending on demand, it might kick it up to 100.
So Jesse, you just mentioned they'll put out 130 gallons per hour.
That's what they're rated for their first hour output at a 90 degree delta T.
So if you divide that by minutes, that you end up getting 2.1 gallons per minute. And this was the one thing I'm curious about, but I want to, if you guys are using them, be careful how you're educating your clients about this, because if you are comparing this to a tankless water heater will put out 9 gallons per minute or 11 gallons per minute. Like I had a situation where all 3 of my showers were running at the same time, and all my family members said they had a nice warm shower. I have no idea if this will do that, because that's going to require 6 or 8 gallons per minute. But as long as your clients are that's not an issue for them, that should work just fine. Awesome. Hey, I'm in a meeting, but anyway, something to think about. But I like Romney's feedback, but just don't go in and tell your clients that they can all, they could turn every shower in the house on at the same time and they'll be fine, because I don't know if they will.
But I think that's part of the reason you have the 20-gallon standby though too, Turner.
Yeah, and that's
It's
that. Yeah, my
compensating
math is
for-
not linear.
Yeah, it's compensating for it. You've got, and I would be intrigued to see how many gallons it pulls before it actually decides to fire. I don't. You have any insight on that weight?
That I don't know.
Yeah, I would imagine that's part of that design of that 20-gallon standby is something simple as a quick hand wash or something like that. I bet you have to pull several gallons before it ever gets around to firing. Just a guess.
Yeah, but yeah, even with that, like most of our clients are not, they don't have multiple showers going, and I think that's part of why everybody I've talked to has just been very positive. So.
And evidently Terrell's pulled out the good practices book and is looking at CFH, I'm guessing, Bolander. Yeah, and I do think in some cases, especially if you're going to be in a municipality, it's going to make you pull a permit. You better be prepared to start looking at what your pipe sizing would be.
Yeah, according to the book, it's not going to do it without increasing your pipe size.
Yeah.
Well, it's based on a couple different factors.
I think the reason they're getting away with it is because they're running in low fire most of the time,
Yeah.
and they're not realizing that they're actually under fired when they're in high fire.
Probably. But
So when you test when you do the combustion analysis, you can put the water heater in high fire. I think that's what Mark tested, see if there's a gas pressure drop on the furnace is when it was in test mode on high fire. But like I said, it also depends on your gas size coming in, your gas line coming in and everything.
Yeah.
But typically we've never run into a problem with it, even sizing them. So
Given that a lot of our houses are pretty small and you're not pulling a lot anyway, but you could get into some bigger homes with some longer runs where I think you could have some issues. And depending on accessibility, you might be able to, tap back in further upstream with the CSST and bring it down to 3/4 straight to the appliance, and that might get you there. But again, that's what your RMGA certifications, gas pipe sizing, good practices books, knowing your BTU content. That's why you're certified and trained to make those informed, educated decisions.
Yeah, most of our clients don't have 3 showers that they can run at the same time anyway.
Yeah, I mean, that's something I've noticed over the 2 years too, Scott, is
Yeah.
In those 900 square foot homes, I guess if you count the kitchen sink, sometimes depending on the size of the kid that you can sit in the sink and use the little spray wand, that might count as 2.
Yep. Somebody said the venting, you can vent them pretty, like the length of the vent can be longer than some other appliances.
Oh, the venting on those things are nuts. It'll let you go 490s. I wouldn't read through that. You can make that thing into a spiral helix design over like 30 feet and still not get any reductions according to the manufacturer specs. It'll let you have 490s. What is it, 845s? Jesse, I can't remember. It's ridiculous.
I'm flipping through it.
Yeah, I remember looking at that the other day when you and I were talking about them. The venting on them is pretty generous.
Yeah, if you have some limitations with other options, this might be a good one to look at.
Where some of the other direct vents are got to be pretty close to the exterior, which has limited some issues sometimes. But these seem pretty generous. You could get away with putting them in the middle of a house, I think, as long as you can get snow.
If you can run a 3-inch vent pipe, you can go a maximum of 100 feet with a maximum of 8 elbows.
Jeez. Like I said, it's really generous. But
Yeah, I had to check our guys on one. They had like 6 elbows in it. And I said, "Are you sure this is gonna work?" And I started reading the thing and I went, "Holy crap, we could add 2 more, guys. Get them in there."
Awesome. Anything else on this one, Dalton?
I don't have anything else. Anybody else have any questions? If you start looking into them, as you have questions, Jesse's a good resource because they've been around them so much. Or you can reach out to us and we can get the answers for you. So, but yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Even though crisis is not a energy conservation based program or crisis service calls, this is a great opportunity, I think. And then when you're looking at the rebate side of it as well, that's kind of hard to ignore. It brings the price down. And then likewise, well, supply chain, right? That's an awesome 4-letter word. That's more than 4 letters. But if normal ever comes back to normal, then I think once demand increases for the product, you'll start seeing more people carrying them anyway. What are you waving around there, Intner? Oh, breakfast?
Breakfast of champions.
Yeah. So that's your little old beat and Pop-Tarts or whatever. Oh, donuts?
Donuts.
Oh, okay.
Hey, where's my donut?
Yeah. But definitely some opportunities there.
To note also, they do come packaged with the LP kits, so you don't have to order that separately.
Nice.
Yeah. Excellent.
That's good. All right. Thanks, Jesse and Mark. Helping us out with that.
Okay, I had 2 more things before we end the meeting. One of them was just this, that I sent out a new, and I'm calling it a draft health and safety form. We introduced this back in October when we had that technical meeting up at the training center, and then I sent it out to this group a couple weeks ago. Anybody been out there and used this that has any feedback, concerns?
Yeah,
about the form?
me. So you can't actually type in it. You need to make it so it has like the type boxes in it.
Okay, so I did send this out to where it's just a paper copy because I have a few people that need to use the new form. But yeah, so my goal is to put together an electronic form, but Steve Fisher actually turned this into a form you can type in. So if you guys would like, after the meeting, I will share that with you. And then if it doesn't work, you can blame Steve.
I like that.
Awesome. Any other feedback or comments on it? So please start using this. And you can use this in place of the old form. You don't have to be filling out both of them. So start using this one and then let me know what's, not working or what seems weird or what you don't understand. Just shoot me a text or an email, and because we want to refine this a little bit and make it into something that's valuable. So
I've used it too, Matt, and I found that it's been easier for me when I'm doing my audit, and you just go right down the list and go through things and put it right in the audit as far as itemized cost.
Oh, good deal. Thanks for that. Yeah, the goal was that we kind of switched from having a list of, go look at this appliance and then you think about all the things. It's just a list of all the most common health and safety items we've been using over the last few years. So it should be a pretty comprehensive list of, here's a list of things that you can actually do under the weatherization or the crisis program to, so if you have that issue, you check that box, and hopefully even though it's more pages, the hope is it'll help you get through the process more quickly and be as thorough as you can be.
So was confined space in this?
As far as like how to evaluate one, or
just coming across it, or yeah, all the above, I guess.
I think there is. I think I had a checkbox for like if you're in a crawl space, just to indicate that whether the crawl space was under the limit, but I don't remember.
Yeah, it's in there.
Okay, I was just curious. I couldn't read. I haven't seen it in its full form, so I just was curious. Thanks.
No worries. But yeah, if you haven't started using this, check your email inbox. I sent this out a few weeks ago. I think I just called it the new health and safety form or draft health and safety form. But yeah, give it a try. We'll talk more about it going forward. And then the last thing is that do you guys remember this old form, the old worst case draft form that had this minimum acceptable draft pressure?
There's not too many that have been around that long.
And it had a little bit of an adjustment for weather. You'd put in the outdoor temperature, and then it would tell you what your minimum acceptable draft pressure is.
Yeah, I just deleted a whole bunch of those off my system.
Would anybody have any major heartburn if we brought back that minimum acceptable draft pressure?
It'd be nice if we still had it.
If it allows us to
I-
add
I would like.
combustion air, I'd be for it.
Yeah, we've just had so many people that have been like, oh, it is drafting, but it's like drafting at a negative 0.1. And so yeah, that is the goal, is that basically we've been concerned our clients are not as safe as they ought to be. We'd like to bring this back. And then yes, to that, it basically what that would do is it doesn't change anything on the BPI test except for this. Right down here is that the way that BPI was determining whether you pass or fail the worst case draft test is whether there's spillage or not. So it would just simply change that our standard in the Utah program would be that, that there is no spillage, and that you're also doing the minimum acceptable draft pressure based off of that math. And then you'd apply the same actions based on what's going on. So you still have to use your brain and think about, okay, if the greatest CAS depressurization occurs with the air handler on, then you look at these things. If it's happening with the CAS door open, then you look at a transfer grill. Like, this doesn't just mean that it fails worst case, now we just swap it out with an appliance. You still use the BPI standard and your brain and figure out what's going on and what the most economical solution is for it. But yeah, I think in a lot of cases, this will increase the amount of times you have the ability to add that combustion air or add the transfer grill, or I think in a handful of cases, it's going to tip the needle sooner towards the sealed combustion appliance.
But again, like if you're adding combustion air from the outside, it needs to be an isolated CAS though, right? Like that's all going to stay the same.
Correct.
Yeah.
Matt, I just have one question. Why did we go to, one of the most recent things was if it was drafting, we said it was okay. I mean, if we found that it was drafting, why did we make that change? And
that's a great question. And we did that because the BPI 1200 standard kind of did away with all that. They got rid of the CAS depressurization limit, and they got rid of that weather factor or the minimum acceptable draft. And they just went straight to just spillage or no spillage. So,
okay, so just as an organization, we want to go back to this math.
Yeah, so we accepted, or we adopted the BPI 1200 standard completely a couple of years ago, but we're seeing, from time to time, we're getting into those homes where we drafted when the agency QCI was there, but we're there and it's warmer or colder, and that things are different. So, and we are concerned that we've put the client in an unsafe situation.
Okay, thank you.
So I hope so all we're going to do, I'm going to put these two boxes back on the form. I had it all laid out, and then my computer crashed, or not my computer, just the program. But so all I'm going to do is I'll add them into the form, and I don't even have a good example. I'm going to add them right here.
So we're going to keep this form with all the notes on it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the form will stay the same.
Yeah, the news section.
Yeah,
Just gonna have two new boxes.
Change that at all. I will just simply put in, there'll be a box right here where you put in what the current temperature is, and then the box next to it will tell you what the threshold is, what your minimum acceptable vent pressure is. And then, so you'll just look and say, okay, I just measured this at a negative 2.1. My minimum acceptable vent pressure is a 1.8 today, so it passes.
So what you're saying is once you put the temperature in, it's going to automatically tell you what, we don't have to do the figuring, it'll just do that on the,
Yes, so you put in the temperature, it will tell you what your minimum is, but then you will have to look at the box here and compare it to the box here and make sure that it passes the test. So I'll put it hopefully later today, and then if you guys have questions or concerns, we can.
Are we going to be held to that minimum draft pressure, or can we still go by BPI 1200 standards if we choose? Is it for reference, or is it a hard and fast rule?
It'll be a hard rule.
Yeah.
So understand, the old, going back to when weatherization nationally first implemented worst case draft testing, that temperature correction factor was built in. And when, the fallout from the stimulus, when they started coming with certifications and everything, it was a decision that was made by BPI. They already had that existing standard and they did that. All the venting stuff, those folks of you that have gone through RMGA certification, there was the gamma tables, you may recall, and all that design of venting for combustion appliances, atmospheric combustion appliances, was built on what's known as empirical data. And it just means that they had done years and years of testing and experimenting to get a known consistent result. But all of that was done at sea level. And where we work at altitude, and then for those of you that are familiar with the geography of the United States, most of our coastal areas, they don't get the wild temperature swings like we do here in Utah. So when you start factoring in, and that's where under the old standard, there were some smarter people in the room. And those smarter individuals understood the impacts of both temperature and altitude in relation to venting of appliances. And after how many ever years we've been on the BPI 1200 standard, we've just seen enough occurrences with you all in the field looking over our shoulders as we monitored you, of appliances that passed barely when you were doing your audits and inspections, and then we're coming along at a different time of year with a different temperature, and now it's failing. And everybody was walking away from those client homes feeling uncomfortable about the safety of the client, which that is our first priority, is to leave the house in a safe condition, better than when we found it. And so it's been something that's been gnawing at us. Actually, I started lobbying Dalton and Turner and Wade when he was here to bring the temperature correction factor back 2 years ago. And finally, they agreed. So we're going to raise the standard a little bit. We understand it's going to change the economics of the program. You're going to replace some more appliances. There's going to be some times that, like Brenna pointed out, we're going to have to do a little bit more combustion air than we used to do. But we're going to walk away from that home confident that when we do a worst case draft in December, that when somebody comes back in July and it's 110 degrees outside, it's still going to draft. So that's why we're making the decision. It's something that we put a lot of thought into. We felt at the time it was the best choice to go to the 1200 standard to get on board with what everybody across the nation was doing. But our experiences for our geographic and climatic conditions are showing that we need to do something to make our clients a little bit safer.
We actually had a monitoring when we installed installed a new water heater in the wintertime. It passed worst case draft. And then Dalton came out and Turner and Dalton came out and did their monitoring, and it failed in the summer. And so we had to go back and replace our water heater again with a direct vent.
And that's happened to more than one of you.
Yeah, that's
happened at a few different places.
So those were the things that helped drive that decision, and that's why we're making it.
No. So Brenna asked if the negativity of the pressure in the CAS, our worst case CAS pressure, if that has an impact. No, If it is impacting it, you'll see it's not going to vent, and so you'll fix it here. That's why that minimum CAS, what were we calling that?
It used to be the minimum
CAS or something.
pressurization. Yeah, we're not going to have that.
Yeah.
We're just worrying about the draft. Yeah.
Yeah, because this will cover it. So I did find this was my draft form. I haven't got the math working on it, but this was all I was thinking is I'll put the temperature here, because remember, so you first depressurize the CAS, which is what Brenna's asking about, and then you move on to the next part of the test, and that is you measure the vent pressure, and that's all we're talking about. We just want to make sure that vent is strong enough when the temperature outside changes, so that it's venting safely all the time. This wasn't perfect. We know it wasn't perfect from before, but we feel like this is going to put our clients in a safer situation than they are currently in. So the idea is just you'll put in the outside temperature. It will do the math for you. I'll put the formula there though, if in case your stuff's not working, because you can do a little math in the field if you need to figure out what that number is.
Well, and two, like you auditors, if you're out in the field and you're seeing you're not hitting this minimum acceptable draft, and you know you're going to be air sealing that house and even making the situation worse, like this is just another piece of the puzzle that's going to help you make a good decision, informed decision early on, and not be making it at the end of the job when it's failing. Worst case, like instead of it just being, oh, it's venting, it passes. Now this is going to make that line a little more rigid and a little higher acceptable draft. So it'll help you guys make better educated decisions earlier on in the process. We hope is kind of our hope with that.
Hey, Dalton, I'm trying to remember exactly what I was going to ask here. I'll get back with you in just a second.
Okay.
Anybody have any other questions or concerns about this?
Dalton is right. One of the things he pointed out, the idea of opening that up a little bit by raising the standard is now you're going to start making, we anticipate, it's our hope that you'll start making that identification of a weak drafting appliance at the audit phase, and then give you the opportunity to fix it through the entire process instead of right there at final. You're trying to get the job across the line and closed out, and now you've got to tack on another how many ever days, get it in contractors and everything else out there, and that makes it a little bit more challenging to get that job completed and finished. We think by making that decision point sooner in the process, it's going to be beneficial.
So Dalton, what my question was, you brought up sealing the room if you bring combustion air in. Mm-hmm. And I remember some years ago in one of the coordinator meetings, I come out and showed, just how far we went with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How far does that have to be sealed? Because we showed that if you're in there with the washer and dryer and everything else, it's basically impossible to seal that thing completely, make it outside the thing. So outside the thermal boundary. So how far are you going to let us go with that?
Well, that's a cost analysis. You have to look at what it's going to cost you guys to actually seal that CAS and see if it's worth doing that, or if that's your only option was to bring in combustion air from outside and it's going to cost you, say, $2,000 to seal up that CAS and stuff, you're probably going to be better off just replacing the appliance. So it's going to be, there's kind of a cost analysis at that point to see what it's going to take, because there's some that I've been in where it's already sheetrock, everything, basically they're weather stripping a door or something like that to isolate the CAS from the house. So that would be an easier one. But yeah, there's some of those where the cost analysis isn't going to justify isolating the CAS, and therefore bringing in combustion air from the outside is no longer an option. So
yeah, basically what he's saying, once the material and labor exceeds the cost of a direct vent appliance, you've failed the cost benefit test. There is no more benefit anymore, because you're going to spend more time and money. And that's, again, one of the reasons we're bringing up these HTPs. In some of these homes where that mechanical room was in the center of the house, some of the other direct vent appliances, direct vent water heaters, may have not been able to vent them those distances and the changes of direction and some of those complications that came with that. And with these HTPs, since they're much more generous on the venting side of things, we see some opportunity there as well. So that will free up that option, we believe.
Yeah. So I'll put this form together and send it out with just later today. If you get thinking about this and have other questions or concerns about it, reach out to us, because I feel like this is something we've done in the past, so we shouldn't have too many surprises. But if we're overlooking stuff, let us know. So other than that, unless anybody has any other major concerns, let's go ahead and end the meeting.
One thing I want to bring up real quick, a little bit on contracting for the managers and stuff that are out there listening today. I'll tell you, still haven't gotten around to even starting on the Dominion contracts because of some internal discussion with GWS contracting and trying to pave the way today for what's going to take place over the spring like normal. We're going to be trying to, once I get final approval, I've got tentative approval, your ops plan and everything that you used to submit to me via email, we're basically going to go to an application type process through Web Grants and Web Grants 3, where you're going to see a funding opportunity. I'll notify you once it's up. You'll have to go in and fill out an application in Web Grants 3, where you will attach all your weatherization ops plan documents and stuff like that. That'll just be for the DOE award. And so we're going to have something that'll look like that at some point. And this is going to satisfy some issues and concerns that both the state auditor's office and internal audit have, where they're struggling to understand how some formula grant programs like ours use the same network over and over again. So even though we've worked hard to explain to them the statutory allowances of what we're doing, it seems to create some rubs and conflict with the state procurement code that they're not capable or willing or to reconcile. And so we're trying to meet them halfway. We're giving them a little bit, and I think we're going to be able to get the rest from them. So just let you know that. So what that's going to also do is we're going to be pushing the timeline a little bit. I anticipate having this stuff built and available in Web Grants 3 right either around or shortly after the public hearing. And that's, so there's a little bit of sequencing change. So you want to adjust your internal schedules accordingly on the preparation of your operations plan. So just keep that in mind. Because when I turn it on and tell you you need to get it filled out and done, that doesn't mean you've got 30 days. I'll just tell you that right now. I'm going to need the stuff in there right away. So. Okay.
Any questions on that?
Don't give me that look, Carrie Lynn.
All right. Anything else before we end? Okay. Hey, thank you guys so much for joining us today. You guys have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks.
See you guys.
Thanks, you guys.
Yeah, good to see you all.